I'm not 100% confident in this, but it's worth the discussion. This LSU defense has been really, really highly praised by yours truly, media down here, a lot of folks nationally, since the middle of August. We told you they were dominating in camp. I told you they were going to go up to Clemson and play great, and they did. And they got 5 interceptions against Florida, held them to 10 points, and they put a lasso around Lenora Sellers and held them to 10 points, and that's all good. But let me just point something out. Again, I'm not trying to declaratively state something here, but I'm just going to shed some light. South Carolina is 129th in the country in total offense. They're missing 3 offensive linemen. They don't have any game changers at wide receiver or tight end. Their quarterback's a one-man show, and he's got no help. They're 129th in total offense. Louisiana Tech is 124th in total offense. Florida is 92nd in the country in total offense. Just fired their coach. Clemson is 62nd in the country in total offense. None of those teams are in the top 60. Now, you were great against them. You held Clemson to 261 yards, held Louisiana Tech to 154 total yards. You turned Florida over 5 times. They only scored 10 points. South Carolina had 317 yards and 10 points. You were great against them. But you've only played 2 teams in the top 60 in offense. Ole Miss is 8th and Vanderbilt is 25th. What did Ole Miss do? Well, Ole Miss had 480 yards of total offense and scored 24 points with you getting a turnover at the 4-yard line. Like, if you watch that game, they went up and down the field. And after that game, I'm pointing to me, I said, well, the offense didn't help them. Like, they did a decent job. The offense was never able to sustain anything. So you're on the field for 80-plus plays. Yeah, you're going to give up a lot of points. And I still believe that to an extent. But then you go play a second team that's in the top 25 in the country in total offense, and Vanderbilt goes for 400 yards and really should have scored 38 points. Do we need to start questioning whether or not this is a great defense? I can ask the question. I don't know the answer. I want to be clear. I'm not getting on here and going, this defense is not very good, y'all. And I do, absolutely. I mentioned it in the first segment. I'm aware that Whit Weeks didn't play. I'm aware that Gabe Relaford and Jamari Butler didn't play at end. I'm aware that your best defensive tackle wasn't out there. I got all that. That matters. I know that there's a football mentality, hey, next man up, and I know that I sat here, again, I sat here and said in August, they can withstand some injuries. They've built amazing depth. But when you start to pick away at 5 starters out of the 11-man unit, it starts to add up. And I believe that LSU has a good defense. But I'm not as convicted in that statement as I sit here today as I was when I left this chair on Friday. Because you have only played 2 offenses with a pulse. And they have moved the ball up and down the field for a lot of those 2 games. And you've lost both. So I just think it's worth giving some discussion to. It's a talk show. We got a long way before LSU plays Texas A&M in 5 days. And I just feel like, having watched Vanderbilt and watched Ole Miss, you watched 2 offenses that really felt like they were in control of those games against LSU's defense. There are some really good pieces to the defense. Mansour Delane is the best player on the team. He is an elite cover man. Vanderbilt did not go at him. He only had 2 targets. Neither were caught. He's great. A.J. Halsey is flying all over the field. That guy can really play. He's a really good safety. But I also watched Diego Pavia drop back, and I don't see a lot of pass rush. And then, when you did get home on some blitzes, you couldn't get him on the ground. And Brian Kelly mentioned that multiple times in his press conference earlier today. But to me, I think you went to the transfer portal to go get some guys to rush the passer. And I don't see LSU winning off the edge ever. And I look at the sack numbers, and I'm looking at a group that doesn't have a single player other than Harold Perkins, and then some garbage time sacks from Damian Shanklin against Louisiana Tech that has multiple sacks. I'm looking at the edge, and I'm seeing Patrick Payton, 1 sack on the season. I'm looking at Jack Pyburn, 1.5 sacks. Dylan Carpenter's got 1 sack. I'm looking at Ahmad Bro, no sacks. Looking at guys that are on the field a lot. These aren't little used players. And you don't have anybody that's got like 5 or 6 sacks. That's a problem. I'm looking at a defensive front that had a hard time stopping Vanderbilt from getting 5 and 6 yards a pop on the ground. I just don't think that's all Whit Weeks. Now, there's Gooden as well, but like, you had Jacobian Guillory out there. You had Dominic McKinley out there. You had Ahmad Bro out there. You had Patrick Payton out there. You had Jack Pyburn out there. You had Devon Keys, West Weeks. Like, I didn't name a single freshman in that group that was like thrust into action. Like Buddy Mathis is having to play, yeah. But he's 4th on the depth chart at defensive tackle right now with Gooden out. You've got guys that you spent a lot of money on, guys that have been playing a lot, and I just don't see a dominant effort on Saturday. So the question is like, okay, well, what's your take here? Like, what are you trying to say? And I think what I'm trying to say is that this unit is good enough to overwhelm bad offenses. And guess what? Texas A&M, not a bad offense. Alabama, not a bad offense. Arkansas, not a bad offense. Oklahoma, not a bad offense. I can't tell you what Western Kentucky's got. I can look it up, but I don't care because that game doesn't matter. But if you look at what's left on this schedule, Arkansas is 4th in the country in total offense. You play them. Texas A&M is 17th in the country in total offense. You play them. Alabama's 43rd. You play them. These are all in the conversation with Ole Miss and Vanderbilt and are not in the conversation with South Carolina and Florida. So the backbone of your team, I know everybody wants to talk about offense, and we're going to talk about offense. Trust me. We're going to talk about it. Got a 2-hour show here. But the backbone of this team is the defense. And I thought it was put in an unfair position against Ole Miss and was okay. Was not put in an unfair position against Vanderbilt. You were out there. Your offense was scoring some points, and you couldn't get stops. I don't know how else to explain that. I gave you the drives chart in the first segment. Touchdown, touchdown, turnover on downs, field goal right before the half that maybe could have been a touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. That's the first 6 drives of the game. 4 touchdowns, a field goal that was forced by the clock, not the defense, and a turnover on downs. That's just not good enough. And I felt, I'm pointing at myself here, I felt this defense was championship level good. If I sat here right now and told you that, I think I'd be lying to you. I think it's good. I think it will get healthier. I think they can win games with this defense. I think they were propped up a little bit by just atrocious offensive play that they played in some of these games. I don't think I can sit here. I mean, I picked Vanderbilt to score, I think, 14 points in this game. They should have scored 38. I just completely whiffed on that. And you look at Texas A&M, like LSU's not holding Texas A&M to 13, 17 points. They're not holding Arkansas to that. Arkansas is a bad team. It's a good offense. They can't stop anybody at all. But they move the ball on everybody. They just don't ever win. Bama's got a really good passing game. Jam Miller's healthy. He looks good. And look, John Mateer in Oklahoma played a little bit better offensively at South Carolina over the weekend. So the defense has got to get healthier, and they got to play a lot better. We're going to get to offense, Brian Kelly talked about the tackle position. He talked about offensive execution in the red zone. There were a lot of things that came up at the press conference today, but I wanted to bring up the defense because right now I've got my concerns. And I was really confident in this group 72 hours ago. I just don't. That didn't carry over. That was a stunning performance for me to sit there and watch on Saturday. Stunning. I don't know how you felt about it, but it was stunning to me. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.